Hey, good evening, everybody. Yes, I think technically it's evening. This is Jason Helmstetter, and I am a brand new podcaster. YouTuber, podcaster. Are they one and the same or are they different? I'm not sure. Anywho, welcome to Important Decisions. And the important is with the P-O-U-R. Because this will be a podcast that, like many others, is centered around whiskeys and bourbons, and ryes, wheateds, all of the above. I am brand new to this. I know not what I am doing. I just figured there's a lot of people out there podcasting, doing their hunts, or they're doing reviews, but you never know if they're full of shit or not. So I thought, why not give it a shot? Maybe I'm full of shit. I'm not sure. My wife says I am. Even when I'm telling the truth, she thinks I'm bullshitting because she says I'm that darn good at it. So here I am starting a podcast based off of my opinions about the juice, my interpretations of the market, my interpretation of what it takes and what goes into this wild world of whiskey, and maybe some other ideas about life too, with a lot of those decisions being pondered and made while sipping on a pour or two. So I thought I'd do one here before the game kicks off, just to introduce myself, see if I can create a following of more than 10 people. I'll be honest with you, if I ever get to 100, I'd probably be ecstatic. But like most Americans, I'll become greedy and say I want 1,000, then I want 10,000. So I will say this, I'm not a technical person, so if the sound is off, if the video is off, share it with me. Be constructive in your feedback. Don't be condescending. Don't be arrogant. Don't call me a dumbass, because I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm going to do it. And I'll figure it out along the way. Hopefully I'll get better. Maybe one day I'll have a sound person or a techie that comes in and sets this up right for me. Because right now what I have on that side of the screen is a mess. This back here is quite organized. This is my church, if you will. So a lot of my conversations will be spiritual, but not in the religious sense. So I like to have some fun with it. I figured if I'm going to do a podcast though, and if I'm going to talk about whiskey and bourbons, I better kick one off with a pour from one of my favorite distilleries. And it's my favorite, one of my favorite distilleries, not just because of the flavors that they have and the juice that they make, but the people that own it and run it. And for those of you that know me, I am based in the Dane County area, Madison, Wisconsin. And we have, within about 20 minutes of where I'm at, a place called J. Henry & Sons. And J. Henry & Sons is a distillery that's been around, gosh, I'm going to ruin this. I want to say 14 years. They started off just making bourbon. They didn't make bourbon and then decide, well, let's make vodka, let's make some gin, let's make some oils or balsamic vinegars or hand sanitizer. They just made bourbon because they are a third generation family farm. And the distillery is operated on their farm. They grow 3 of the 4 grains that go into their mash bill on the farm, with the 4th coming from another Wisconsin farm within about 60 miles of where they are at. The tasting room is their family house, no longer the family house, obviously. And they use their old barns that became their rick houses. And then they put in a finishing room where they have different barrels and then a bottling line. And just a few years ago, they built a much larger rick house to house all of their barrels. So I've had the privilege of getting to know this family over the past few years, and I've become quite close with them. And so I thought that's the most logical pour to have on this first podcast. So what I'm going to sip on is a finished bourbon from them called Bellefontaine. And you have to forgive me, I can't lift my left arm too high because I just recently had a shoulder surgery. But this is the Belle. She comes out on Kentucky Derby Saturday every year. And it is finished in a cognac barrel. I don't know the finishing time, so I'll look that up and figure it out. But this does, they only proof down 3 of their expressions. First is their small batch, and I believe that's proof down to 93. And then their small batch rye, which is only a couple of years old now, or it's a couple of years since it first released. And then Belle. Everything else they do is at barrel strength. Whether that's a Patent Road, a release, which are all single barrel expressions, if you've never had those, or if it's La Flamme, which is released in October, and that's finished in an Armagnac barrel, or whether that is their anniversary bottles, which you can see some of those over my shoulder right here. I got about 5 years worth of them there of their anniversary, which is a limited edition released on Black Friday. And they basically started this 2019 where they created the blend. They put it out with the help of Nancy Fraley and Joe Z, who is Joe Henry Jr. He has now become the master blender. He apprenticed under Nancy for years. But him and Nancy created this initial profile for the anniversary blend, and they kept a couple barrels back so that basically it's become an infinity release. And I think each year it just keeps getting better. I honestly believe that I thought for the longest time 22 was my favorite. Now I believe it's 2025. So they do some great stuff there. They're very humble people. It's a family-run event, and even the staff there become like family, which I enjoy because my son now works there, which is pretty cool. So I thought this is the best one to start with, and appropriately, I didn't mean to, but I did, and I grabbed a Glen. I grabbed a J. Henry Glen, so it's quite fitting that that's where we start, and we'll give this a go, and I'll talk for a few minutes. And if you know anything about J. Henry bourbon, you'll know that they use a red heirloom corn that is a varietal only available to them. Years ago, when Joe Sr. wanted to do this, he just said, what can make us help us stand out? Besides being in Wisconsin, besides growing our own grains, well, what if we went back and found this varietal that had been available decades ago? So they reached out to the University of Wisconsin, some exchanges went back and forth, and basically went over and picked up the last remaining seeds of this varietal of corn. And Joe will kill me, but I believe it's 335A. And they picked up this packet, literally a manila envelope. And over the course of multiple years, they repropagated, and enough to where they had enough yield each year to start distilling. So I think Belle is a great one to start with on any day just because of the low proof on it. Again, 103 proof. You know, you jump into the 120, you're not coming back from it. So the nose on these, for me, I get a lot of greeny, it's dusty, but then there's that sweetness that comes out of the cognac. And I'm just a fan. Each year the expressions are a little bit different, but so similar, kind of like twins. And the coating on the glass, the mouthfeel, everything's really good about it. So Anywho, you know, again, I'm not sure what I want to talk about. I might talk about Indiana and Miami getting ready to play tonight. I sincerely hope it's Indiana that wins. I'd love nothing more to see them knock the snot out of Miami in Miami's house and just shut down a bunch of the naysayers. I have a business partner who went to Indiana, so I'm rooting for him that way. I'm rooting against Miami because I come from Nebraska. And most Nebraskans, we remember our glory days in the 80s and the early 90s where Miami was it. They were the shit. And we took our whoopings from them, but then we got to give some back when we won some natties. So I'm rooting for IU. So there you go, Kevin. This one's for you, bub. But when I post this, you see it, you're going to criticize me. One, because I'm going to say a lot of ums. I have to clear my throat a lot because I spend most of my day talking. And if I was smart, I would have had some tea with honey and maybe some throat lozenges. But I'm going to give this to you basically uncut, unfiltered. You're going to see me lean up to shut the camera off because I'm not going to edit. So if somebody comes down and starts a conversation, could be my wife, could be my son, could be a friend wanting to have a pour. We're just going to let it run and see where we go with it. So bear with me. And again, I'll just give you some raw, unfiltered reviews of whiskeys. I will say this. I think a lot of people are full of shit when they talk about what they get on their nose or their palate. I say that with an asterisk though, because there are certain whiskeys where I can just get so much fruit coming out of them. I get that sweetness. But when somebody wants to start talking about very specific baking spices or other notes, I struggle with that. I don't know if it's because of my years of playing sports and having broke my nose multiple times to where maybe my senses are off that way. I can only tell you if I like it and if I think it's worth its price tag. So for me, Bell, I think I get these for about $70 a bottle. Again, this is an annual release bottle and $70, and I love it. You can see behind me, that's not just a faux backdrop. That's real. That's all real bottles back there. There's a lot of those that I love, but man, I don't get the nose that other people do. So if you're a person like that and you're like, I kind of just got to try it to see if I like it, well, then maybe you'll like this podcast because that's what I do. I find what I like and I buy it. So you'll see a whole host of Larceny barrel proofs. Behind those Elijah Craig barrel proofs, you see a whole row of right back here of the Jack Daniels varietal expressions. I love some Ben Holiday, some Dark Arts. Obviously, I love my Wild Turkey sitting way back up there in that corner. I can't do it with my other arm again because messed up. But I got some really good stuff like right here, and that's all good. But you can't drink all that expensive stuff all the time. You got to have your dailies. So we'll go through those at some point. We'll go through the dailies. We'll go through the top shelves. We'll go through those mid tiers, and maybe we'll do some blinds, and I'll have some buddies come in and do them with us. But if you want to be somebody that wants to just shoot the shit about whiskeys, ask me to review something, or ask me if I've tried something, I'll share it. And maybe if we grow big enough to where we have multiple followers, and I say multiple, like more than 2, maybe there's a way that we sample a bottle, or if we get those media samples that people get, I send them back out to you all, especially on the rare ones, because I see a lot of folks trying stuff and man, it's like, I'd like to try that one, but I don't know where to find it. And if you live in one of those states where distribution can be difficult, I get it. Wisconsin, we get quite a bit of stuff, but a lot of stores kind of hoard it back. It doesn't mean I don't have my honey spots that I can go to and maybe use my relationship. I shouldn't say use, but because of my relationship with that store owner or manager, they hook me up with a bottle because I'm a loyal customer to them. I don't think I'll ever go out and do whiskey hunts or film them, but who knows? Maybe I'll take this out and when we do some barrel picks. I am part of a group that's getting ready to do a couple of barrel picks here in the next month and a half. We're going to Four Roses. We're doing a pick there. We're going to do one with Green River. We might try to throw another one in there with a not so known brand. I've been fortunate to get to do in probably the last year 10 to 12 barrel picks, and I love it. I love it when you can put 6 people together and we can all come to agreement on one as being the winner, and that's just hands down it. Or we get down to 2 and we have a great debate and see what comes out on top. But I'm fortunate we have a local liquor store here that we try to support, try to give a lot of our business to, and we do his barrel picks. We just picked one just last week with 45th Parallel. And I mentioned 45th because Paul, the owner, actually came in with us or came down here and was present for the pick, which was done by 3 of us. And 45th Parallel, again, Wisconsin based, they're in New Richmond. They actually do the contract distilling for J. Henry. And for those that don't know what that means, it's not that J. Henry sourcing their whiskey. J. Henry sends their grains, their barrels to 45th Parallel, who does the distilling, barrels it, sends it right back to J. Henry. And the reason being was the Henrys know the cost of stills, and not everybody has an infinite amount of funding. So they use Paul and the folks at 45th Parallel who do a great job for them. So we just did a pick with 45th Parallel. I think the whiskey we selected was about 132 proof. We had a hazmat in the batch, but we didn't choose it simply because we felt like the 132 had greater character to it. On the nose, on the palate, the finish, all the way around, it was great. The hazmat was no slouch. It definitely, it thumped you in your chest a little bit. It was good, and I definitely would have bought a bottle or 2 of it, and I may still try to see if I can. And if I get one, like I said, maybe we get some followers. I can start sending out samples to people. You know, they want to try something. I have no problem sharing it. Like many of you, for me, whiskey, bourbon, while it's about the chase and the hunt, it's much more about the community and the camaraderie and the conversations I can have where you can get past political differences. You can get past religious beliefs. You can just sit and enjoy something that's delicious. And you cut yourself off before you maybe go down some of those paths or where maybe those conversations come up and people say the wrong things or get a little bit off color. But you still try to just enjoy it. So all of that being said, I just want to make sure that you all enjoy the podcast. Come back and visit me. I'll drop another one in a few days or a week. Just depends on our schedule with our son, who is a high school hockey player. We're coming near the end of the season. And we'll go from there. Again, drop a comment, maybe like it, maybe subscribe. I guess you're supposed to say that, you know. There'll be a link down below. So I appreciate your time. I'm going to try to keep all of these under 20 minutes, unless we're getting into a big topic where maybe we're watching a game and we do a live podcast while we sip whiskey. Or we get into a good debate about a topic and we're like, hey, this helps us solve that problem. Not create a problem, but solve a problem. So come back, see me again sometime. I hope you all have a great night. And again, for Kevin, go IU.